I did aftermarket support for a helicopter. I can tell you two things. Helicopters are amazing pieces of technology that can do amazing things that are very good for mankind. And also helicopters are basically giant fuel cans that explode on impact. God. And you know what this reminds me of? When I worked at the helicopter company, helicopter support. He's been disconnected from it. When I used to have my office job at HSI, the helicopter company, from a service standpoint. In fact, I used to work for a company, a major helicopter company. It was called HSI, Helicopter Support, and a stock portfolio when you had high income on YouTube. The only stocks I ever had investment in when I worked at that helicopter company, I've had a bank job where I worked for a bank doing loans and credit cards. All right. I worked for a helicopter company. I've been able, when I used to have, an office job at a helicopter company, to stand in front of the all hands meeting, embarrassed and choke. That helped me. And then later on, again, that translated into my job when I worked for the helicopter company. I was the leader of several projects and things where I had to speak in front of a couple times I spoke in front of the whole. When I used to work at my office job at the helicopter company, someone had actually told me about it, and the helicopter company creating a system that improved everything. What? My dad worked in continuous improvement. That was his full-time job, and he did that for many years at that company. He redesigned tons into oblivion. Okay? These companies should not be fucking able to do this. It happened to me. Okay? I worked for a major company, a helicopter company. It was called Aftermarket Support for Helicopters, where people... What I do before I became a streamer, I was working an office job for a helicopter company for about 4.5 years. Where at first I started out as customer support, but then they decided that I was better than that, so they trained me in continuous improvement, which is a very high pay. All right? Is something I've talked about many times over the years, and a lot of people said I was full of shit because they're assholes, okay? Just want to make sure that's all that's in there. It looks like it. This is my certificate of completion for the ACE Certification Program Associate level, showing I used to work for United Technologies, and I don't think that the actual company Helicopter Support is on there, but that's where I used to work. Many, many, many years ago. Over the time of my life, I never really had the opportunity to follow sports because I was so busy. Now, when I ended up getting the office job at the helicopter company, pisser. So I might have told you guys this story before. My dad used to work for a helicopter company making helicopter blades. And I would have been happy if, when I was at that helicopter company, if they had actually come through with their promises. It's after 2 years of doing work above and beyond what I was expected to do as a customer service rep. If I was actually treated nice, my life was going. I didn't, because in 2010 I still had my office job. I was still working at HSI, the helicopter company, and I didn't think for Best Buy, working for the helicopter company. Nothing really was a fit. And so I didn't really give a shit. It wasn't until I started doing the continuous improvement work at the helicopter company that I actually started to enjoy some of the work I was doing. And then within a year of doing that work, they laid me off. So for your company, why don't you let me make them better instead of just being a yes man and then everything falls apart? And that's actually exactly what happened at that helicopter company I worked for. Within a few years of me getting laid off, they went out of business. They split their workforce apart and sent people other places, and some people ended up doing completely other things than this. So that was probably boring as shit, because a plane is made of ridiculous amounts of parts. I know from when I used to work for a helicopter company. Excuse me. Okay, let's continue. Mad. Oh, we got a lot of shout outs. Let's see here. Hickety Cheers said, do you have a Roth IRA? Because I had a helicopter company. No, I had stuff, but I had to cash it all out. I needed money. Dude, that's a Sky Crane. Yeah, that's a Sky Crane helicopter. I know, because I used to work for a helicopter company. Yeah, that thing's made to lift insanely heavy things and transport them. All I guys have ever been out of the country. Yes, to Canada. I went to Canada. I went to Newfoundland, Canada, for work. When I used to work at the helicopter company, there was a company out there that had an offshore oil rig in Newfoundland, Canada, and I went out there to help them with the consignment inventory that they had on site because it was all out of discrepancy. It was all discrepancies out the ass. It was all miskept. So I helped them try to make heads and tails of their inventory that was all screwed up. So, to the wire that last game of Blackout, and I'm very happy that I got the win. Emperor Dogs, cheers. Did you really work for a helicopter company? You said that once and never mentioned it again. You said something that got me curious. No, I did. I worked for a company called HSI that was an aftermarket support for helicopters. Basically, customers would come to us because they owned a helicopter and they needed to get parts for their helicopter, or their helicopter needed their parts to be repaired because they couldn't afford new parts, so they wanted to get repaired parts. And we would do all the logistics of getting either the parts in our door and sending it off to a repair facility. We actually had an in-house repair facility that did some repairs. And then getting those parts out to the right vendors, coming back and stuff like that. Or we would order the parts. We'd have a parts warehouse where we stocked helicopter parts, and we would have the parts on site that we could ship to the customers, stuff like that. Yeah, that's the company I worked for almost 5 years. So, okay, I said I saw people die. No, I didn't. I never said that. I never said I saw people die at my job. Never said that whatsoever. I don't know where you heard that. Damn. Alright, so in retrospect, that was really stupid, because they probably could have killed their leader right there. A helicopter, it's incredibly difficult to survive a helicopter crash. I know from experience because I worked for a helicopter company and I saw many people die from helicopter crashes, so that was really stupid.